Next up we have Janet Devlin, who's from Belfast and is a marketing consultant, having gone over to the dark side some years ago after a long career in journalism. She is the most uninteresting person she knows, but in the spirit of flash fiction describes herself as funny, fat, fearless, feisty, friendly, frank, flirtatious, Fred, and a wee bit bullshit. We're delighted to welcome him here to Armagh to read the Red Anorak. Come on up, John.
The Red Anorak. Mr. Gray had a funny, smiley face and wore red Y-fronts the exact same shade as Amy's favourite anorak. Mum was cross when she left her anorak at the Spar and made her go back for it, saying she was lucky it was just misled, not lost. Amy had lost her childhood, though. She overheard Mum say so as she doodled in her colouring book next to Gran's pantry. Mum was raging. But if her childhood was lost, not just misled, she didn't see how she could get it back. Gran sort of hissed that Mr. Gray had stolen her incense, the stuff Mum uses when Dad lights his cigars. Maybe he just borrowed some for a smoke. Sitting on the back step, she wondered, brow furrowed, if Gran meant sense, as in Mr. Gray stole her sense. But Mum already told her, "You've got no sense," after she fed Toby a gummy bear and he barked and threw up on the carpet. Arriving further backpack in tow at Gran's terrace house for the summer holiday, she was warned, "Stay away from the man next door, he's odd." She was looking down at his tiny backyard from the window of the bedroom with the lavender wallpaper when he suddenly appeared in his underpants and flip-flops. Amy giggled because his Y-fronts were humongous, much bigger than her little brother's, and the same colour as her coat. Gran came into the room with fresh sheets and quickly pulled down the roller blind and said, "Don't look, he's sunbathing." Later, when it was dark, she got out of bed for a wee and saw silly Mr. Gray still sunbathing. She laughed out loud and he looked up and smiled and waved. "People are peculiar," Gran announced at breakfast, lashing butter onto thick toast. Mr. Corbett was dead now, but he used to take his clothes off regularly and walk up and down the back way buck naked. Everyone just closed their doors and windows because he was a war hero and out of his head and meant no harm. Mr. Utog's family had shown up from Norway and taken him back to Oz, she said. He was a mariner who took to drink and woodbines after his wife died. Gran worried he didn't eat right and sent her up the entry with plates of boiled potatoes and bacon. He squeezed her hand in his thick yellow-stained fingers and talked in strangled syllables of iron fishing boats and wild seas. One time he gave her a whale tooth. Amy wondered whether Mr. Corbett and Mr. Utog had lost their childhoods, like she had, or if they had just misled their senses later in life. It was a particularly hot afternoon, and she was admiring the pansy faces in the tiny strip of bedding by Gran's back gate when Mr. Gray peeked round his yard door and said, "Come and help me put on some sun cream so I don't get burnt." Amy had never seen Y-fronts up close until he took her hand, slick with oily liquid, and put it there, then there, and then there. His funny face was still smiley, but he was sweating and trembling all over. Mr. Gray moved away right after she lost her childhood. No one knew where they had gone. Amy tried not to think of him or the red anorak with the embroidered trim of tiny Swiss flowers ever again. That's it.